And joining me right now is that California Congressman, ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Devin Nunes. And Congressman, it is good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Great to be with you this
You
morning.
need to be taking a victory lap. I know better than anybody because we did this every Sunday on my Sunday morning Futures program on Fox News, how you came out for 2 years and said, Maria, this is not true. This is a lie. This is what really happened. And you educated our viewers. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Maria. It was really critical to have a show like yours because we could go on Sunday morning and we could really talk to the American people with a large audience and be able to stay on a long time. And I think that made a big difference because we could get down into the details of what is now known as Russiagate fiasco. But you're right. I mean, we talked about this for many, well, I guess dating back to about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So thanks for making yourself available, and your show, you played a big part in getting to the bottom of all this.
Well,
but we're not finished yet, though. Right. I think we have to remember that.
I want to talk about that. And you're the reason, and John Ratcliffe is the reason that I was so sure of the story as well, and why I was able to communicate to viewers that there is a much bigger story. In fact, it's the biggest scandal of our time in terms of what the other side was trying to do to a duly elected president. Let's talk about what happens next now, Congressman, because there's a good op-ed today in the Journal basically saying, look, if Mueller did not look at the perpetrators, you know, if you don't get to the perpetrators, the fact that they started an investigation into Donald Trump based on nothing, based on no predicate. So where does this go now? You are looking to make criminal referrals in the next week.
Yeah, so I would start with this. The mainstream media continues to ignore, I would say, the people who have been on the Russiagate fiasco for the entire time. I think they're listening. But what I've said my major concern now is that the FBI and DOJ falsely claimed that this investigation didn't begin until late July. We now know for certain that that's not true. We're still trying to get to the bottom of that. Of course, there's still documents that need to come out. But we are prepared and are now drafting a criminal referral. As I think I said on your show a few weeks ago, we wanted to wait until the Mueller report came out so that we could just, if there was anything in there that might be of interest. But I think we're prepared now to at least submit our first criminal referral. We think it will grab everybody that we need to grab to make sure that there's a proper investigation done, or at least it's our referral over to DOJ. We can't force them to do an investigation, but we think we will give them the appropriate names and some of the crimes. There may be more that have been committed. And then as we continue to get more information, as more information comes to light, we may have to supplement that down the road. But we think by the end of next week we'll have this out.
Well, why do you think people miss this so much? Let's go back and talk about what went on here, Congressman, because the FBI started investigating Donald Trump as early as the end of 2015, right? And into 2016, they put informants in there. They really tried to trip him up as much as they could as they were watching him connect with the American people.
That's right. I would say this about what some of the biggest challenges that we had is because they used our counterintelligence capabilities, these secret capabilities that are really only supposed to be used to go after terrorists and other bad guys. They actually turned it on a political campaign, and that's where they first went wrong. Now, my estimation is they used what's called counterintelligence because they could keep it siloed and hidden from the American people and from the rest of FBI and DOJ. That's why they used the counterintelligence. They opened up a counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign because they could use these secret capabilities. Then, of course, we all know the story about how they went and they went to the FISA court. They misled the FISA court, lied to the FISA court in order to get a warrant on a Trump campaign associate so that they then could get a bunch of emails and phone calls and records into the campaign. I'm really just unprecedented. If you go back a year ago, the fact that anyone over at FBI or DOJ would think it's okay to run one informant, 20 informants, whatever the number is, into a political campaign under a counterintelligence investigation is out of their mind, and it's DOJ run amok.
Yeah.
Anyone who thinks that they can take U.S. taxpayer dollars and pay people in the campaign in order to get information, That's DOJ and FBI run amok. Congress should not tolerate it. American people should not tolerate it. The Democrats should not tolerate it. But in all of this, the biggest culprit has been the mainstream media. The mainstream media nonstop was reporting on this phony issue, taking garbage, and they were in on it from the beginning. Let's not forget, there were many people in the media who were involved in this from the very beginning. They were working directly with the Clinton Fusion GPS, the Clinton campaign arm, the dirty ops arm of the Clinton campaign. Many people in the media were working directly with them. They've known for a long time that that dossier existed, and there's no one, none of the major media organizations would go with the dossier information because it was so salacious.
Right.
Now, why do I say salacious? Because that was the former FBI director's term for it.
Yeah, he said it was Jim Comey said it was unverified and salacious. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, so if you go back and look at this, how is it possible you have something so salacious? You have the most powerful investigative unit in the world, which would be our counterintelligence capabilities with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you're telling me that you get a dossier, and I've looked at lots of intelligence reports over the years. When I first saw that dossier, I mean, what a joke. Nobody would believe that. That's why the New York Times and Washington Post wouldn't run that dossier.
Yeah.
The Clinton campaign dirt.
Look, the Mueller report is done, but what I want to know is where this goes next, because as you know, as you've reported and told us many times, the FBI was working on two investigations side by side. One investigation was about potential collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians, which we knew all along was nonsense. And the other investigation was looking into Hillary Clinton and her use of emails. And the FBI wanted to charge her with gross negligence, but they were told, don't do it, right?
Well, there's all sorts of issues with the Clinton campaign arm. One of the things that I think is still out there, or not the Clinton campaign arm, but the Clinton operation as it relates to the destruction of those emails. I mean, clearly there were multiple crimes broken there. It's a two-tiered justice system. It's not right. And it's why, look, it's why the new Attorney General Barr, he's got a lot of cleanup to do over there, but I do have a lot of confidence in him. I really do. I think he's going to be able to get it done.
So do you think that another investigation is going to start looking into Hillary Clinton, given the fact that she did exhibit gross negligence in terms of emails, classified documents, and then, of course, a lot of people say that that's really where the Russia collusion was. After all, the Clinton campaign paid for the dossier. They used Russian sources to find dirt on Donald Trump. She did sell a portion of the U.S.'s stockpile of uranium, and her foundation got $148 million. I mean, that's real money. She got it from a Russian company, and her husband made a speech in Moscow and got $500,000. All of this was ignored as the mainstream media tripped over themselves to say it was Donald Trump and not her. I mean, it's pretty incredible that during a campaign you had one candidate with real ties to Russia, the other having zero, and yet it's the other that gets in the headlines of collusion.
Yeah, and not only that, but they investigated the Trump campaign for exactly what the Clinton campaign was doing. Supposedly they were looking into the Trump campaign because they were worried that Russians were infiltrating and giving dirt to the Trump campaign on Clinton, when in fact they knew right in front of their very eyes they had Clinton campaign dirt that they were supposedly getting from Russians. And Christopher Steele, who was the hired gun of the Clinton campaign arm, that was running around in London somewhere, supposedly talking to Russians. We don't know, but the FBI was willing to take that information and never go do a counterintelligence investigation on Christopher Steele. Maybe Christopher Steele was a compromised Russian agent. We don't know, but this is criminal what the media didn't do. And just this morning, just read a story that Christopher Steele, lo and behold, he showed up. Finally, somebody in the media tracked him down in London. There's a new picture of him because, he's been in hiding for all this time. Now, you're telling me that every major news media outlet, including many over in London, it's a big economic center of the world. You cover it on your show quite often.
Yeah.
And are you telling me that no one could find Christopher Steele to ask him questions about what was going on with the dossier? Because as you know, he was referred by the Senate. He had a criminal referral to the Senate for lying. If you look at our investigation, we invited him to come and speak. he never would come and speak. And then lo and behold, after Mueller comes out and basically completely debunks the dossier, it's completely debunked now. The Clinton dirt is debunked. And now suddenly the media has time to go and track down Christopher Steele. I mean, what a joke.
Right. Let me ask you about the Mueller report and whether or not you believe it should be made public. William Barr says he is going to make it available. A lot of people are calling for it in the next week. Of course, you know the Democrats, that's their new big outrage. They are ignoring the contents of the Mueller report and what we just found, and instead going toward, well, we want to see the whole report. Where do you sit on that?
Well, I actually think I was the first member of Congress to say that all of the information needs to come forward. So I don't really care about the report specifically, because I think the report should just be burned because it's partisan. It should be looked at a lot like the Christopher Steele Clinton dirt dossier. I mean, this is really Mueller's dossier is what this is, okay? So it was written by a bunch of partisans. However, there were a lot of interviews that were done. There were a lot of warrants that were issued. There's a lot of underlying information that could hypothetically fill in blanks to our investigation that I would like to see. But in terms of, I don't think people should put a lot of confidence in the intricacies of the Mueller report, because if you look at the Mueller indictments, they read like Russian spy novels. But at the end of the day, that was used on purpose. To hurt the American people and hurt those people, make it sound like those people were Russian agents. Congressman,
stay with us. We want to get more on those criminal referrals and your lawsuit against Twitter. We'll be right back with more. Devin Nunes. Welcome back, and I am back with California Congressman, ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Devin Nunes, looking today at what you're doing in the House today, Congressman, because you're going to have hearings today, a hearing on Russia, right?
Yeah, we're having an open hearing on Russia again today. So, look, I'm not, as you know, I've been a big critic of Russia. I've been a big critic of how we've handled Russia over the last decade. But I will tell you, I have no idea why the House Intelligence Committee is having an open hearing on Russia. Number one, we're supposed to be normally meeting with intelligence professionals. The people that they're bringing in today, most of whom look like very partisan actors. So it's almost like we're more of a foreign policy gadfly committee that's still chasing Russian ghosts in the closet, instead of getting down to the real work, which is overseeing 17 very important agencies that protect the American people, which is our intelligence community in the U.S.
Yeah, well, part of it could be because your chairman of that committee is Adam Schiff, and Adam Schiff continues to go with the story that he has more than circumstantial evidence that there was collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. We now know that the Attorney General debunked that and said that's absolutely not true, as did Robert Mueller. So what about that? I mean,
well,
do you want Adam Schiff to step down?
Well, to be fair, he didn't. He never produced the circumstantial evidence. As I understand, the case that they're making now is that there is evidence in plain sight. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I haven't seen it. The only evidence I do know that's in plain sight that they have is this Trump Tower meeting that lasted a total of 18 minutes that appears to have been set up by Clinton campaign operatives.
Right. So
that's the only one I'm aware of.
They sent informants in there to call Donald Trump Jr. and say, "Oh, I have dirt on Hillary Clinton, so let's meet." So the informants even started before the actual investigation was launched officially in July of 2016. Look, this is just incredible. Yeah, go ahead, Congressman.
Well, I just want to make sure, we have no idea at that point if the FBI was involved in that Trump Tower meeting, but there is no question that the Clinton campaign arm of Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson and others were meeting before and after. They were representing that was one of their clients who had went in to supposedly deliver this dirt to the Trump campaign. If that's the evidence in plain sight, I would love to get some of those people in there and really know exactly what's happening, what happened there at the Trump Tower meeting, because I don't have a lot of confidence that the Mueller dossier got to the bottom of that.
Real quick before you go, you're suing Twitter, and you're going to be suing other media companies as well. Now, they operate under the idea that they're not media companies, right? Like the social media companies. Is your lawsuit basically going to test that whole thinking that they are media companies, because a lot of people get their news from social media?
Yeah, the social media companies in this country, and the tech oligarchs, as I call them, they're operating with very special deals. They're not treated like your company is, like Fox is. So now, it was in the old days, if they were just letting everybody throw stuff on the internet and only taking out criminal information, like if there were federal crimes being committed or something, that's something that, then it's an easy situation to deal with. But that's not what Twitter and these tech oligarchs are doing.
Right. So when are you going to come out with the other media companies that you're suing?
It'll probably be next week.
All right, Congressman, we'll also look for your criminal referrals having to do with who started the investigation into Donald Trump. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for all your work, hard work in the last 2 years. You deserve praise. Good to see you, sir.